a lasting solution can be found.
Martin, Kenyans are asking how genuine that these particular politicians will be this time. Remember, this particular protest that led us here had no Raila as a leader. These are Gen Zs, clearly. But some of the issues, according to Raila Odinga, are unemployment, corruption, ethnicity, debt, and the management of the economy. If you listened to the co-principal Azimio, Martha Karua, earlier, she said clearly, do we need a dialogue with President Ruto to discuss corruption? Do we need a dialogue to discuss or investigate police who were, of course, on the spot over the deaths in the protests? Do we need a dialogue to sanitize this country? Martin.
We don't need dialogue. You know, Raila Odinga has missed it. And if he is not very careful, he's going to become irrelevant. Because you remember there were the demonstrations 2013-2014 over the 2013-2014 finance bill, especially on the housing levy. But they were
2013-2014?
Yes, the 2023-2024.
Yes.
They were largely Azimio-led. And they were on the streets for quite some time, almost 2-3 months. There was no, the bill still went through and it became law. All the things they tried to raise, they were ignored. And the only other thing that came out was they went and sat and said they are doing NADCO. So 1 year later, the proposals which came out of NADCO were ignored. It is only the other day that they now said they are signing the IEBC Amendment Act bill right. Into an Act of Parliament. But you know, all the other 9 proposals were ignored. You have Gen Z out there for 14 days. They managed to get the bill withdrawn. They managed to get the cabinet dissolved.
Yes.
Although there are issues about the position of the Attorney General. Because when you fire the Attorney General, it means the government cannot sign any documents. There are people who have sued government. If somebody goes to court today, the government is supposed to put in a response. What happens? The courts will give orders against the government because the government, the state councils and the rest of those guys in the AG's office don't have the mandate to sign documents on behalf of the AG if there's no AG. So there are questions there, and I think Dr. Magare has moved to court and other Kenyans. Because I think the question is, if there is no AG, who is advising the president on legal matters? Even to dissolve that cabinet is legal in itself. So the president should have been advised by the AG. Now, even the AG who is supposed to have advised him, he's also out, he's been fired. So
and if we reflect, of course, the AG had come out just the day earlier to say that the president wasn't taking the legal advice from his office, rather. If you followed that news, he had spoken.
Yeah, he's spoken. He's on record saying that.
Yes.
So there are issues there. Because there are also other functionaries in State House who allegedly advise the president. The former Solicitor General is there, and some other lawyers. So, but you know, those ones are not supposed to usurp the powers of the AG. Because the powers of the AG, that is a constitutional office with clearly spelled out functions. So, the JNZ managed to get Kome out because one of the demands by the Azimio Brigade was that Kome should be pushed out. It never happened. So it tells you that in terms of thinking and strategy, the JNZs are better thinkers. They are better in terms of mobilization. They are better in terms of execution. So for the political class, and you know the good thing is now the political class is split. In Azimio, it is largely the ODM party leader, Raila, who is pushing for dialogue. The youthful MPs, the likes of Senator Sifuna, Osoti, Nabina Buera, and a few others who are my friends, they have refused. They are not very keen on dialogue. Then you have the other co-principals, the likes of Eugene Wamalwa, Kioni, and Karua, and Kalonzo Musyoka. They are not for dialogue. But the question is, what new thing are they going to discuss? Because whatever was discussed during NADICO has not been acted on. And these are old tactics which were working in the 90s, like the Saitoti Commission. When Kenyans were calling for the repeal of Section 2A, Mheshimiwa was a KANU MP that time, and he knows it. What Moi did was to form the Saitoti Commission, deputized by Professor Ngeri. So they went around the country and came back and told President Moi then that Kenyans were not keen on multipartyism, that they are only saying the good thing is they want to remain in KANU, but KANU should reform within. But that is not what Kenyans have said. So they are trying, the President Ruto now and his handlers are trying those kind of gimmicks. Because we've had so many reports. We have had the Waki report, we have had the Krigler report, we have had the Bindungu report, we have had the Njonjo report, we have had BBI, we have, all these reports are out there. And the issues, when you look at the issues that, the main issues, there are just 4 issues. We have issue number 1. They were distilled very well in Serena when we fought in 2007, 2008. After the late Kofi Annan came here to mediate, they distilled the issues very well. 1 is the youth agenda. Issue number 2, IEBC, which we formed the Krigler Commission. And Krigler, the late Johan Krigler, gave us the recommendations on what we need to do about IEBC, which we've not done. Because we need a functional electronic voting system.
All right.
We had the historical injustices. We formed the Bethwell Kiplagat Commission, which addressed quite a number of those issues. But a few people like Matiba, the late, had caught awards of about 900 million, but the family has not been paid up to now. Then there is a land equation.
Okay.
That one applies mostly in Coast, in Rift Valley, and in the central part of Kenya. So in in President Ruto's manifesto, he talked about it, but he has not actualized an inch.
And I want to come into...
the main issue now,
yes,
which has been there, is the issue of the youth issue.
All right.
We did very little when after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. President Kibaki had a ministry for youth, a standalone ministry for youth affairs. He also formed the youth fund, and he came up with the youth policy. But largely we have ignored, we have not actualized the youth policy. As we are talking, for the first time, just give me a little minute.
All right.
For the first time in our history, from 1963, we've always had the youth in the cabinet. Tom Mboya was a minister at 28. Onyonga became a minister in 1969 at 29. We had people like Kibaki, they were in their 27, 28 as assistant minister. Ultimately, they became minister. Even Mheshimiwa Kirwa here, he was a minister in his 20s towards late 30s. And he did a very good job. So Musalia was minister at 29. William Ruto was an assistant minister, I think 27 or 28. Jirongo was also a minister in his 20s. Now, what does President William Ruto do? For the first, there is no single minister who is youth. When they see a babu dressed like a young man and shaving a box, they think he's young, but he's 49. You have Alfred Mutua, he has a small body, but he's 52.
Okay.
So there is no single minister who is young, because youth is between 18 and 35. 2, he appoints an advisor for women rights affairs, Harriet Chigai, at cabinet level. But he doesn't have an advisor for youth affairs. 3, when we were making the constitution, and I hope Gen Z are watching this show.
I believe so.
Yeah, and listening, because it's very critical. They need to push for a reform in terms of the MPs. The women were smart. They pushed and they got the women rep thing. So we created 47 seats for women rep, and we also created allowed them to benefit through the one-third gender rule, although that has been contested. But you know, we never created seats for the youth.
I want to come back to
in Uganda, in Rwanda,
yes,
the whole of West Africa, they have youth MPs. So we need to create 47 seats for the youth, specifically at the county level, so that they're able to sit and address the issues of the youth.
All right. Honorable, of course, Kirwa, you know, you have been using